Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're doing really well. If you're new here, I'm Sally and this is my channel, Secret Life of a Seamstress, where I love to talk all about sewing and making clothes and sometimes other crafts as well, such as knitting, crochet and hand sewing. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you everything that I have been sewing and making this summer. I feel like I have done a lot of sewing and making this summertime. I really have been making, and I've had a lovely time actually. I've really enjoyed this summer. I think because we've had some lovely warm weather here in the UK, it's been so much more inspiring than last year's summer was, for example, where we had rain pretty much throughout the whole summer. It was chilly and cold and I just didn't really feel like sewing for summertime, so it's been really lovely to be able to get some lovely sort of floaty makes done, and I have a holiday coming up soon as well which I've been sewing for, so yeah, there's a lot to share. So I do feel as though this video might be quite a long chatty one, which I know some of you enjoy, but I will put in timestamps in the description below the video as well, just in case there is anything that you want to skip past or you're not interested in, or you might want to jump to and from a particular make or something like that. So I'll try and make sure that I link everything below and timestamp everything as well. So if you are new here, just a little bit about my sewing plans for this summer. So this summertime, I, as always, have been pretty inspired by the high street. I always love to look around and see what's coming up on the high street. I don't particularly follow trends as such, but I love to kind of take inspiration and then use what I want to use in my own handmade wardrobe. And I try to do that using sewing patterns that I already have. So I will tweak and change sewing patterns that I already own to give me a similar look or a more updated look, or something that's maybe a little bit more sort of on trend or up to date than it would have been when I originally bought the pattern. So actually everything that I have sewn today, or I will be sharing in today's video, has been using a pattern that I already own, although I do have a sewing plan that I would like to get to before the end of the summertime, which will be a new pattern. So some of these sewing makes, but not all, you will have possibly seen before, or you might have seen as a work in progress. So if they do relate to any other videos that I've shared or any tutorials that I've put out or anything, then I will be sure to link those videos down below, and I'll try not to waffle on too much about the makes if I've already talked about them in the past too. So the first of my summer sewing makes was this little co-ord set, and I do have a full sew along for this make. So again, I won't talk too much about this one because I do have the full sewing process and a lot of chat, I'm sure, to go along with it in a separate video. So yeah, this I think was like the start of my summer sewing, and this is a really cute little co-ord set which I sewed from this beautiful Broderie cotton fabric which I brought from Self-Made. I'm sure, like me, you would have seen that all over the high street there are loads and loads of co-ord sets around, shirts and shorts, tops and shorts, all that kind of thing. And I kept seeing these lovely Broderie sets coming up on my Instagram feed and on my algorithms and eventually I was kind of inspired to use this fabric to make my own co-ord set. So I've made a little shorty pair of shorts and a cropped basic sort of t-shirt with short sleeves, and I can either wear them together as a co-ord set, or of course I could wear this one on its own with a skirt or a different pair of shorts or a pair of jeans or something, and then obviously likewise I can wear the shorts in the same way, just with a vest or a different top. So the pattern I've used to sew the shorts is the Sapphire Trousers pattern, which comes from the Tilly and the Buttons Make It Simple book. If you're a regular to my channel, you'll know how much I love that pattern and how much I've used it in the past. It really is such a great basic wide leg, super simple elasticated trousers pattern, and I've used it so many times in so many different ways and I just absolutely love it, and I always recommend it to beginners as a really great easy pair of trousers to sew as well. So I used that pattern and cut it into shorts. It's actually the first time that I've used this pattern to make a pair of shorts, and it worked really nicely. These are super simple. I did line them because obviously this Broderie fabric, it's an eyelet fabric, so it does have some holes in it, and the fabric was quite light as well, so it was very kind of sheer, and I needed to line it since I was going to be using it for a pair of bottoms. So inside I've just lined the shorts with a cotton lining, so just a cotton a white cotton fabric, which I actually bought from Amazon for speed purposes. I just wanted something that was going to come really quickly, and it turns out you can actually order fabric from Amazon, so who knew? I love the weight that this cotton fabric actually gives these shorts. So they're really quite weighty, and they've got quite a lot of kind of shape and structure to them, which is really nice. So I'm pleased with how they turned out. Didn't add any pockets to these ones, didn't add a drawstring or anything, so they really are nice and simple. And then for the matching top, I went for the Ashton top by Helen's Closet. So this is a really great pattern as well. It's one that I added to my pattern collection this time last year, I think, in summertime, when I was actually still on a trend of making co-ord sets, but with sleeveless tops. Essentially, it is quite a cropped, boxy style tank top, but you can make it in different lengths, and you can also buy a sleeve add-on pack to the pattern as well, which I did to make this little shorty t-shirt. I decided to use the Ashton top pattern just because I really love the length of it, and I love the shape of this top as well. So it uses a hem facing to finish the bottom of the top, which I love because it gives it a really nice structure. So obviously this is sewn from a cotton, so it does have some structure, but I think just adding the interfaced hem facing just makes it stand really nicely. So where I'm wearing it with these shorts, it kind of hangs really nicely over the elasticated waist, and it keeps its shape. So I love the Ashton top pattern. It's a really, really great one. If you're making the sleeveless version of this pattern, then you can finish the armholes and the neckline with an all-in-one facing, which is finished with the burrito method, and it gives a really nice, neat finish. But because I was adding the sleeves to this one, I've just finished the neckline with a simple piece of bias binding. So I've still managed to waffle on a little bit about this set, but as I say, I do have a full sew along, so if you are interested in the making process of this one, then I'll link that video down below. But I'm really, really pleased with how that turned out, and I think it's going to be a good one for a nice little holiday outfit, holiday mix and match set. I don't think I'll stick to any particular order going through these makes, because I don't want to do all the ones that you've already seen some of, otherwise you're probably likely to get bored. So I will mix it up and next share a dress that I've got finished recently, and I think I showed you half of this dress. I think I had finished the bodice last time I caught up with you with where I was with my summer sewing. So I've since added the skirt, and as you can see, it's really quite long and midi length. This is the Pippa Dress by Sew Over It. So I absolutely love the Sew Over It Pippa Dress. I sewed it a couple of years ago, only ever made one, but I wear that Pippa Dress all the time, and I absolutely loved it, and I really wanted to make another one. And I was fortunate enough to be sent some lovely fabrics to support my summer sewing by a new company to me called Mr. Tissue, and they sent me some lovely fabrics that I could use for my summer sewing. So this was a viscose that they sent me, and it's just absolutely beautiful. I love this so much. The yellow colour in this is just so pretty, and I love the pink and navy ditzy floral that's all over it as well, and it's just got a really lovely softness to it. So it suited this dress really well. So if you haven't seen the Pippa Dress by Sew Over It, it is a quite versatile pattern really. It has this nice v-neck bodice, bust darts, back darts, so it's quite a fitted bodice, and then you can make it in various different lengths. I think there is mini, midi and maxi, and then you can either include these little short sleeves or 3/4 sleeves or full length balloon sleeves. I have a fly buzzing around this room that I can't get rid of, and I'm really sorry if you do keep seeing it appear on the video. It's so annoying, but I just can't get it out. So yeah, anyway, I've got distracted. So I have only ever made the midi length version of this pattern with short sleeves, and I did need to modify the pattern slightly. So I did find that the midi length version of the pattern was going to be slightly too short for what I wanted. I quite like a midi length dress that will come down to mid calf, so I like it to be quite long but not quite maxi length. I'm kind of fussy with my midi lengths, so I spent some time modifying the pattern slightly to give me a little bit of extra length, and then I was also between a few of the sizes as well in this pattern. So I graded from a size 8 in the bodice out to a 10 I think over the hips, and then back in down the length of the skirt because I didn't want it to come out too wide either. So yeah, a little bit of pattern modification when I did first make this dress, but as I say, it did kind of pay off that I'd spent that time to get the pattern how I wanted it, because now I absolutely love the fit of this dress and I love the length fit and how it fits me and everything. And I love it. I just love it so much. I feel like this has got a really nice sort of vintage style to it, and it's kind of fitted. It's a little bit different to my usual sort of fit and flare type dresses that I tend to wear in the summertime. It feels nice and it's flattering, but it's not too fitted, so you don't feel like you're wearing anything too kind of revealing or anything too tight. It's just a really nice flattering shape, I think. One change I did make to this dress was to shorten the zipper. The Pippa dress calls for a really, really long invisible zipper, which is about 22 inches, I think. And I found that with my first version, it pretty much took up the whole length of the dress, and it was really kind of unnecessary. I just didn't need that much length in the zipper. So this time I just went for, I think, off the top of my head, I think I went for a 16-inch zipper, and that gives me enough to be able to open it from the underarm and sort of over the hips as well, so you get that big opening, enough space for you to get it over your head and over the tightest parts of your body, and then zip it up, but it's not sort of taking up the whole of the dress, if that makes sense. And that worked nicely, and I'm glad that I did that. Something I find kind of awkward with the Pippa dress is when you come to sew on these buttons, because these are actually fake buttons. There's no buttonholes here. The buttons are just for decoration, and you just sew on the buttons once the dress is all sewn up, and then obviously the actual fastening is just the zipper at the side. I always find it so awkward to sew on these buttons once the dress is made, because you're kind of sewing the buttons onto a dress that's already been fully formed, whereas normally if you were sewing buttons onto a shirt or something, you'd be sewing them with the whole thing open. I love this dress so much. I'm so glad that it's now made and in my wardrobe, and that I have a second Pippa dress. And again, I will be taking this one on holiday with me because it's just a lovely, comfortable, cool, floaty dress to wear in the evening. Slightly see-through, as you can probably tell when I'm holding it up to the light, so it does need a slip underneath it. I have a couple of slips that I own from Marks and Spencer's, which are indispensable. I don't know what I would do without them. I wear them all the time under my dresses, and it just avoids having to line things if you don't need to. So I would highly recommend getting a couple of those if you don't already have one and you do tend to wear dresses like this, which can be kind of see-through. Another thing I made was this robe style cover-up top, which you possibly will have seen before if you are a regular here. So again, I'll try not to waffle on too much about this. This one again was another lovely Mr. Tissue fabric. It's a cotton voile fabric, which is lovely and light and slinky and perfect for this kind of cover-up that I'm planning to wear just over either swimsuits or over a vest and denim shorts, or any kind of situation where I need a little bit more coverage, really, maybe when it's a little bit chilly or if I feel like I'm getting burnt or anything like that. I think it's just a really good one to have and take to the beach or the pool or wherever, basically. So to sew this one up, I used the Hayley Robe pattern by Handmade, which is a dressing gown kind of robe style pattern, which I've made as a dressing gown in the past, but for this version I just took out the belt, took out the patch pockets, took out the belt loops, and just had it as a really simple robe style cover up. So this is a really simple style, just a back, two straight fronts, some kind of straight sleeves which you sew on flat, and then a lovely sort of wide facing which goes all around the edge. One change I did make to this pattern was just to widen the sleeves slightly. So with the dressing gown version of the pattern, the sleeves are quite tapered, and I just decided to have them a little bit straighter and wider, just because I thought that suited the robe style top a little bit better. And I also just shortened the sleeves a little bit as well, so that they come to kind of wrist length rather than being too long and floaty, just because I thought it suited that kind of cover up style a little bit more. Obviously quite a super simple, quick and easy, speedy sew. I think I sewed this in around 2 hours, but just I know it will be really useful for summertime. And even if I don't wear it on holidays, it'll be a really good sort of thing to wear in the morning, really, as a dressing gown if I need to. So yes, pleased with that one too. Another pair of shorts. So I do have quite a few videos that relate to some of these makes, and this is another one that I have a full sew along for. For these shorts I actually modified another of my favourite and most used patterns, which is the Tyra trousers by Plow & Patterns, and I had on my list for ages to try and make a pair of shorts using the pattern because I love the shape of the waistband and I love the pockets in this pattern as well. I'm not always a big fan of side seam pockets because I do feel like they can spoil the lines of a garment sometimes, so I do really love pockets that are kind of set into the waistband, which the Tyra trousers pattern is. So for these I actually used a lovely tumbled linen from Fabric Godmother. Never used a tumbled linen before, but I have to say it's really lovely. It's got quite a lot of structure to it, so they do hold their shape, these shorts. They're not really drapey, they have got quite a lot of kind of shape to them, which I kind of like. But they've also got that sort of lovely creased texture that you get with linen as well, but a little bit softer, I would say, than 100% linen. It's a really lovely fabric. So yeah, I just shortened the Tyra trousers pattern, kept the pockets in, modified the waistband slightly to include a drawstring waist, rather than just the plain elasticated waist that you do get on the Tyra trousers pattern. And that gave me a really, really lovely pair of shorts that I know I will be using again and again. I love it when you can just use a pattern that you've already got, just make a slight change, and then you've got a whole new garment. You wouldn't necessarily know, I don't think anyway, that I've used the same pattern as the Tyra trousers to make these shorts because they are essentially quite different with the drawstring waist and the pockets and everything. So yeah, I just love making that kind of change and not needing to buy a new pattern, and I like the challenge of it as well. Obviously this wasn't the most challenging change to make to a pattern in the world, but I just kind of like the challenge of using something I've already got and just, you know, getting a whole new garment out of it. So yeah, really pleased with those. But as I say, do have a full sew along video, so if you want to see how I adapted the pattern and everything. I do get asked quite a lot about changing waistbands from being elastic only to drawstring, and I share all of the details in this video as well. So if that's going to be something that's of use to you, then pop over and watch that video because I just explain exactly how I do it in that video too. So yeah, these are also coming on holiday with me. I think they would be a really lovely, useful, comfortable pair of shorts just to wear around the beach or pool or whatever, and because they're linen they'll be nice and light as well. Okay, so let's move on to something completely new that you will not have seen anything of so far, because this is quite literally hot off of the sewing machine and I finished it last night. I knew I needed to finish up my summer sewing in time for my holiday, or get everything done that I wanted to get done in time for my holiday, and then just put the sewing machine away, because I'm very much in danger, as I know we probably all are, of just literally wanting to sew to the last minute because you have so much inspiration and so many ideas of things that you could make at the last minute for your holiday. But I decided that last night was going to be my last night sewing, and then I just needed to put the machines away and have a break, because I'm in danger of now stressing myself out and getting to that point where it's not enjoyable anymore. It's just quite stressy sewing, and no one wants that, do they? So last night I spent a little bit of time just finishing this co-ord set. So as you can probably tell, I am a little bit obsessed with co-ord sets at the moment, and I did share that I was going to be making this if you watched my fabric haul and summer sewing plans that I shared recently. Again, this is another really lovely fabric that I was kindly sent by Mr. Tissue. This is a really light 100% cotton fabric, but it is the lightest and softest cotton fabric I think I've ever used, actually. It kind of feels like either a voile or a lawn. So it doesn't feel anything like as crisp as 100% cotton maybe normally would. But for this co-ord set, I decided to go for a lovely, comfy, easy, relaxed pair of shorts, and then a long sleeve shirt that I can just throw over the top. And again, what I love about a co-ord set is that you can wear the shorts on their own, or you can wear the shirts on its own as well, and I know that I'll be getting a lot of use out of both of these. So for this pair of shorts, again, I used the Sapphire pattern by Tilling the Buttons rather than the Tyra Trousers pattern, and the reason for that was just because I wanted something really simple. I didn't want any pockets in these because I didn't want too much bulk around the hip area if I am going to be wearing these two items together. This time, as you'll see, I've added the drawstring at the waist, and I've also just taken some height out of the waistband as well. So the piece of elastic that I've used in these shorts is slightly less wide than it was in my Broderie Anglaise pair that I shared earlier, and I think that again just kind of reduces a bit of bulk around your waist, because you haven't got such a big elasticated waistband. And then for these ones, I just wanted to include the drawstring as well. So I've just popped a couple of buttonholes in there, made a super simple drawstring, which I just made out of a 5cm long strip of fabric and threaded it through. So because this fabric was so light, again, I did need to line these shorts. So I've literally just cut the pattern again from a viscose voile fabric for the lining this time. This viscose voile I've mentioned before, it's from Fabric Godmother. It's only about £2.99 per half metre, but it is the best lining that I think I've ever used. I love it. It's so soft, so drapey, and it works really nicely under a really light fabric like this, and it just gives a light fabric a little bit of weight, so you can see that it's got a little bit more weight than you'll see in a minute when I hold the shirt up, and also stops them being see-through as well, and no one wants a see-through pair of shorts, do they? So it's always a good thing. I love these shorts. I'm so pleased with how they turned out. Again, just really, really quick, simple, easy pair of shorts, but these are everywhere over the high street at the moment, and some of them are quite expensive, I have to say. They're such a simple design, really easy to sew if you can sew. So it's really hard not to just keep sewing these and sewing these, because there are so many different versions and so many different fabrics that you could use to make like 1,000 different pairs of shorts for your holiday. But yeah, really happy with those. I'll stop talking about those now. And then I wanted to have, for this co-ord set, a long sleeved shirt, because I love the look of a shirt and shorts co-ord set, and again, just a really popular sort of thing that's around on the high street at the moment, isn't it? So for this shirt, let me put it on the hanger so that you can see it properly. I have used my old favourite shirt pattern, the Logan Shacket by Style Arc. Again, if you're a regular, you'll know how much I've used this pattern. It is literally my favourite casual shirt pattern. Really quick and easy to sew for a shirt. I sewed this in about 2.5 hours. Comes together so quickly, so easily, and it's a great one for beginners, I think. Even though the instructions aren't great, if you've got some sewing experience, I think you'll be okay. And I feel as though the pattern pieces always come together really nicely in Style Art patterns. So always really well drafted, but the instructions can be a little bit minimal. So this shirt comes with like a back yoke piece, which is here, and then a bottom part of the shirt. For some reason I decided to include the yoke with this shirt, and I think it's just because I wanted to play around with the stripe direction. So I've got the stripes going this way for the yoke, and then for the bottom part of the shirt I've got them going downwards like I have for the rest of the body of the shirt. But when I was sewing this, I kind of thought to myself, I kind of wish I'd taken the yoke out, because the fabric is so light you can sort of see the stitching line around the yoke area, which isn't too much of a problem. But as I was sewing it, I thought perhaps I should have just sort of taken the yoke out and sewn the back in one solid piece and had the stripes all going in one direction, and that probably would have sort of laid a little bit cleaner than it does with this rounded yoke. Never mind, I do kind of like how it's turned out though. It's always fun to sort of play around with stripe direction and things like that, and it does make it look a little bit more shirt-like. I have taken the yoke out of this pattern in the past when I've sewn different versions, and it's really easy to do, but as I say, for some reason I just kind of kept it in for this time and then thought perhaps I shouldn't have. But anyway, I also just changed the pocket slightly. So the Logan Shacket has two very large pockets on the two fronts, which are great if you're going to be sewing like an outerwear shacket. It kind of suits the pattern more. But for a lighter shirt like this, I just wanted a bit of a sort of more understated pocket. So I just literally folded the pattern piece to make a square patch pocket and just added it to the right front of the shirt rather than having it on both sides. And again, I've just kind of played around the stripe direction of the fabric just so that I've got the stripes going that way, horizontally, rather than vertically. So I love this as a really light sort of cover up style shirt. I love wearing shirts as a layering piece anyway. I tend to wear them in the summer over jeans, or even what I'm wearing today, just jeans and an Agnes top. And if I was feeling cold or I needed a bit of extra coverage, I would just probably throw one of my Logan jackets over the top of this, and it's just a really easy and comfortable outfit. So again, this one will be coming on holiday, and I'll just probably wear it over shorts and vests and maybe even swimwear and things like that. Or I can wear it together as a co-ord with this shirt sort of buttoned up and tucked into the shorts, and I think that gives a really nice, smarter look. And I'm so pleased with how this turned out. It's again exactly kind of what I had in my head. So I'm so pleased to be able to sort of bring that vision to life, as it were, and again just use patterns that I already have. Let's have another dress quickly, shall we? And again, I think I've shared this before in a catch-up video, so I'll try not to waffle on too much. But I love this one, and this is a great addition to my summer wardrobe, and just a pattern that I've made before in a different way, but using a different fabric and just playing around with length and things. It's just given me like a different style of dress. So this is the Taika blouse dress by Named Clothing, and this was inspired by a dress that I've seen on the high street from Nobody's Child, who are a brand that I love, by the way, and I do buy from. I really like their like ethics, and you know, they're a really good company and I love the clothing that they have. But I'd seen a lovely stripy fitted dress similar to this on the high street and thought, I have a pattern similar to that. I think I will try and make my own version. And since I was in the shopping centre at the time, I popped along to John Lewis and just had a look at what stripy fabric they had in stock, and they had this really pretty delicate striped 100% cotton fabric, which feels as though, to me anyway, that it's got a little bit of linen in it. It doesn't feel like just cotton, although that's what it was listed as, so it must be 100% cotton, but to me it feels a little bit linen-y. Just got a lovely texture, but it is quite light. So I used the Taika blouse pattern to recreate a similar style dress, I guess, to the Nobody's Child one, but again, going along the theme of sort of using patterns that I already own. I always love to use a pattern that I know fits me and suits me well. I love the look of all of these sort of are they like, I forget the name of it, like a Renaissance style dress maybe, where they're really fitted, like empire line bodice like this, really fitted at the waist and then kind of billow out on the bottom. Sometimes that kind of style doesn't always suit me because I'm quite small and petite, and dresses like that can sometimes overwhelm me. So if you are going for that sort of style, or you like that style, but if like me you are a little bit sort of smaller, this style is a really nice take on that vintage style look, I think, with the empire line bodice, and then it's kind of fitted through your waist and it flares out a little bit at the bottom. So in the past, when I've made the Taika blouse dress, I've just shortened the length a little bit, but for this one I left the length as it was. So this is really long. It's kind of not quite maxi length, I guess, but it comes right down to my ankles, and that's what I wanted with this one. And in the past I've kind of shortened this dress to be like mid-calf length, but I feel like I just, for this one, wanted it to be really long and really floaty and really sort of vintage style looking. So I have worn this one out. I wore it on a trip to London, and I got a huge tomato sauce stain on it right about here. And I've since used a stain remover on it, which my mum gave me, and washed it, and thankfully that stain came out. Yeah, I wore it on a trip to London on a really hot 30-degree day, and it kept me really nice and cool, and I just felt so nice in it, so sort of summery and comfortable. And really cool as well because of the fabric. And yeah, I'm so pleased with this one, and it's very different to my other versions as well, because in the past I've used like a ditzy floral fabric, and because this one is cotton and it's stripy, it's just given me a completely different look. And I feel like this one is more on trend for this summertime. Styles in the shops at the moment are very much solid colours, aren't they, and stripes and spots rather than ditzy florals. And I think if you are using a floral at the moment, it seems to be quite large scale floral, so I just feel like this one is a little bit more on trend for this summertime. Not that trends matter at all, I'm not saying that at all, but it does just feel as if this one is a little bit different, is what I'm trying to say, I think. So yeah, that's that one, and I'm really pleased again to have this one in my wardrobe. I'm really happy with all of my summer makes this summer. And it's been easy, I think, because I'm familiar with all the patterns that I've been using. I've just been using them in different ways, and it's just been lovely. I've had a really nice summer sewing time, I think. So one more make that you may have already seen, and then I'm going to save the best till last, I think, and show you something that you will not have seen before. Another one that was very much on my wish list of things to sew in the summertime was a white midi skirt. So I went back and forth for ages really on the type of white midi skirt that I wanted to sew for myself. Again, I always have to be really mindful of my shape and size and my figure and things that suit me. And you'll probably know, if you do keep an eye on what's on the high street, there are loads of gathered tiered midi skirts around on the high street which look really, really great on lots of people. But I think for me, whenever I've tried that kind of skirt on, I just don't feel quite right in it, because I feel like they kind of overpower me a little bit with all the fabric and all the gathers. So I decided to go for a gathered skirt, still midi length, with pockets, a lovely sort of flattering flat front, but a really comfy elasticated waistband at the back. And I'm so pleased with how this turned out. I love it. I love it so much. And I love the fabric that I've used. So this fabric is a Broderie Anglaise from Fabric Godmother. It's got a lovely palm print all over it, which you can hopefully see with me holding it up to the camera. And it's been really popular, this fabric. I think a lot of people have bought it in their various different colours. I was lucky enough to get some of the white. I think they've still got it on their website, but I will link it below if I can. But yeah, Broderie Anglaise is big on the high street for this season in loads of different ways. Dresses, skirts, co-ord sets, shorts. It is literally everywhere, and I'm happy about it because I love Broderie Anglaise. I always have, ever since I was a little girl. I've always loved this kind of fabric. It just gives me vintage feelings, vintage vibes, and it's so lovely and summery. So I used this fabric to self-draft this skirt. It's literally made from 2 rectangles with a pocket piece that I stole from Tilly and the Buttons, who have a free pocket pattern piece that you can download on their website on one of their YouTube videos. Literally used my body measurements to self-draft a front and back skirt piece. I've also lined this skirt as well, so I needed to just use those same measurements for the lining piece, but I've just, where is it? I've just cut the lining slightly shorter. And again, for the lining, I've used the viscose voile fabric from Fabric Godmother to line the skirt. So the lining is made from a viscose and the outer fabric is made from a cotton, and that actually works really nicely because the inside has got a nice comfortable drape to it, but the outside kind of stands away from your body a bit because of the cotton fabric. Then I also just used my body measurements to draft a waistband piece as well, so the front part is not elasticated at all, and the front part of the skirt is actually gathered into the waistband, and the back part of the skirt is just elasticated, so you kind of get the shape of the skirt just with the elastic being brought in at the back. There's no gathering to do in the back piece. And I love making this skirt. I have a full sew along video for this one as well, which I'll link in the description below. It gives all of the measurements that I used, how to calculate your pattern pieces for your body measurements, and how to draft the waistband piece as well. And then I just go through the entire sewing process. It's a really quick and easy skirt to sew. Once you've got those measurements sorted and you know the sizes of the rectangles that you're going to be cutting, you can just repeat this skirt so often of so many different fabrics. And to make it even quicker, you can leave the pockets out, you can leave the lining out if you don't need to, and you could literally probably sew this skirt in an hour to an hour and a half once you get used to it. So yeah, a lovely quick and easy one that I know I will be repeating for more summer skirts. Maybe not this summer, but maybe next summer, although I do have a couple of fabrics that I could use for a couple of skirts. But maybe after my holiday now, we will see. But yeah, super pleased with this one. It just goes so nicely with vests and t-shirts. It's so nice and easy to wear. It is white, obviously, so I'm always a little bit scared wearing it that I'm going to get another tomato sauce stain down it or something. But yeah, we have to wear our clothes, don't we? We can't always just be scared of getting them dirty, and I think this one will be a nice one for summer holidays, and hopefully I'll get some wear out of it in the hot weather and on holiday as well. So another make that is quite literally hot off the sewing machine. I finished this a couple of days ago though, so not quite last night like the shirt and shorts combo. I have been a bit obsessed as well with crochet fabrics and crochet dresses, skirts, shorts and all of the things, again completely inspired by what I've been seeing on the high street. And you will remember, probably if you're a regular here, that I've had this crochet fabric sitting behind me here in my stash for ages, and I've not really known what to do with it. And I still don't quite know what to do with it, which is why it's still sitting here. But anyway, and I fell in love with this set that I saw from New Look actually. I'll pop a picture in here. It came up on my Instagram feed, I think, and I just absolutely loved it. And I set to thinking about how I could make something similar, but this fabric here wasn't quite working for that set. So I went back over to the Fabric Godmother website, who are the saviour for all lovely fabrics at the moment. They just have so many lovely fabrics on their website, and they had this lace knit fabric on there, which I thought would work better for the kind of thing that I know I will be comfortable wearing, and it'll give me a more sort of everyday kind of look. So the skirt part of this set was easy. I have had the Sew Over It Lana skirt pattern in my pattern stash for quite some time. I used it to make a winter co-ord set with a lovely cable knit fabric and like a roll neck jumper to match. The Lana skirt, it is a paid for pattern, but it's probably the easiest pattern you could ever sew. It's literally front, back and a waistband that you don't even need to elasticate. So I used that pattern as a base to make myself a nice straight long knit skirt from this fabric. So the Lana skirt is okay as a base for this kind of skirt, I would say, but as you'll see from the pattern image, it's not quite as long as what I wanted. So I needed to lengthen down the pattern and also just widen it slightly because I needed to be able to walk in it or move in it. And the Lana skirt as it is, it kind of goes out around your hips and then it comes in. So it's a very fitted knit skirt. So if I wanted to lengthen the pattern, I needed to not have that sort of coming in at the sides. Otherwise I definitely wouldn't have been able to walk. So what I did was just sort of straighten out the skirt pattern from the hips downwards. So it's still very straight and still quite figure hugging, but it's not quite as tight to your legs as it would have been if I'd have used the pattern as it is. So I basically just took the waist and hips part of this pattern really, and then just continued to draft a straight rectangular tube style skirt. I think I sewed this up in about half an hour, maybe 40 minutes. It's very quick and easy. And because it's sewn from knit fabric, you can literally whiz the side seams on the overlocker and then you just pop the waistband piece in and that stretches over your waist, so you don't need to use any elastic. You just use the knit fabric that you're already using. So that's the bottom of my co-ord set. And then the top half of this one, you'll see from the New Look image, it kind of had this sort of vest style fitted top. And I love the style of that whole set on the model. But when I was thinking about how I would wear it myself, I wasn't sure how comfortable I would be in a completely fitted outfit like that, because obviously the top and the bottom are quite figure hugging and quite clingy, I guess. And I'm not always someone that likes to wear things that are that fitted on me. So even though I'd gone back and forth about the kind of pattern that I could use to recreate something similar to the New Look pattern, I then decided that perhaps I wanted something a little bit different for me. So I went back to another old favourite of my sewing patterns that I use all the time, which is the Megan Nielsen Jarrah sweatshirt pattern, and decided to, instead of making a sweater pattern with that pattern, I decided that I was going to make like a super simple cropped t-shirt to go with this, and this is how it went. So I literally used the front and the back pattern pieces of the sweatshirt pattern from the Jarrah. So if you were making the sleeved version of the Jarrah pattern, you would attach some sleeves to this armhole point here. So I literally just left off the sleeves, included the neckband as it was, cut some of the length off so that it's a really nice cropped boxy style t-shirt. So this just kind of sits just over the waistband of that skirt, and because it's a bit boxy and a little bit more oversized, I feel more comfortable in that because I've got the fitted part of the skirt on the bottom and then I've got this on the top. It doesn't feel quite so revealing basically, and I feel more comfortable in it, and I really like how that's turned out, and I feel like it's a slightly more grown-up version of this co-ord set maybe, and something that kind of suits my age and how I want to feel in my clothing and my lifestyle, I guess, if you get what I mean. So the Jarrah pattern worked really nicely as a little t-shirt top, and again I just think, why have I not tried this before? Because it would work so nicely in a heavyweight jersey, because it's got that really nice boxy sort of structure, and it just kind of hangs nicely over your armholes, so you feel as though you've got some coverage and you've got a little sleeve, but there are no sleeves really. It's just basically a continuation of the shoulder that just kind of drapes nicely over your armhole. So I'm really pleased with how this came together actually. Again, I mean, the Jarrah comes together very quickly. This probably took about 45 minutes to an hour max, and this took about 45 minutes. So all in all, a very speedy sew, but something that I think is really quite nice and effective in this fabric. The only thing I would say about this fabric is that it was very, very stretchy. You had to be quite careful with how you were handling it, or I did anyway. And it also literally frayed everywhere, so I had to overlock everything really before I sewed it. So the armholes are overlocked and then just sewn into place just with the Maraflex thread, is it? So I've used a straight stitch, but I've used that stretchy kind of thread, so I didn't need to use a zigzag stitch. And then I've just overlocked the hem and just turned it up again with a straight stitch. Because it's not really stretching over my body, I didn't think I needed to use a zigzag stitch anyway, but I have gone with a Maraflex thread just in case. So yeah, really, really pleased with that. I've got my lacy co-ord set that I wanted, albeit not from that fabric. That will get used for something at some point, I'm sure, but yeah, nothing really has quite worked in my head with that one yet, but it will do at some point, I'm sure. So that is another one that I would most definitely be taking on holiday with me, and I'm really pleased with how that turned out. Again, just using some patterns that I am very familiar with and have used a lot in the past. Right, so very quickly I'm going to just share two knitting makes with you, one of which you will already have seen, but I will share again because it is one of my summer makes. So this is my Tolsta Tank by the Creabea, I always say it wrong, Rebecca Clow, I think she is, on Instagram and on Ravelry. Such a lovely pattern. It came together so quickly. I think I knit this in about 2 weeks from an acrylic yarn which I got from Hobbycraft. But basically I just love the colour of this. I've just seen a little end that needs sewing in or cutting off or something. But yeah, super speedy, lovely pattern. It's knit from bottom up, so nice and easy. You just kind of knit in the round until you get to the armholes, and then you separate for the V points, for the triangles for the V-neck. And yeah, I love this one. I love knitting vests in the summertime, and I find them quite handy now because I wear so many sort of floaty pairs of trousers and skirts and things. It's really nice to have a few knitted things that can pair with those garments in your wardrobe for summertime. So that was one of my knits. And then the other thing which I finally got finished was this stripy vest. So I did have to rip back the front of this. This is knit in two parts, a front and a back, and then you need to seam it up. So I did have some trouble knitting the front where I basically used the wrong shade of yarn. I won't go into that whole drama again because I have shared it with you already. But yeah, I had to put this to the side for a little while I just kind of got over that and knit that other vest, and then I came back to this. And yeah, I think I'm really pleased with this. I am a little bit sort of funny with it, I would say, because I feel like it's caused me a lot of drama. And I've got that feeling about it where I kind of know that it's not perfect, you know, what you get when you know that you haven't quite put your best work into something. But really, I'm actually quite pleased with how this has turned out. I love the colours in it. I love all the pastel colours, and I love how it works with the white stripe running through it as well. And I'm pleased with how it turned out, and I'm definitely pleased that I persevered and got this done so that I do have it in my wardrobe, and I got to use all of these lovely cotton yarns and all the different shades that Rowan kindly sent me to try out. I have to say, this cotton yarn is just lovely. The shades are lovely and the feel of it is lovely. It's really lovely quality. And it works so nicely for a cotton vest like this. It definitely works better for a vest than the acrylic yarn that I use for my Tolsta Tank, because obviously cotton is a much cooler fibre to wear in the warmer weather. And this pattern is a free pattern, I think. Is it still free? It was free for a while, it might not be now, but it's on Ravelry. It's a Debbie Bliss pattern and it's just called the Simple Vest, I think. As I say, it's knit flat, so you knit the front and then you knit the back and you seam it up, and then you just do a little band around the neckline, around the armholes as well, and yeah, this chunky rib at the bottom. So you might be wondering what I did about my ends in the end, because knitting these stripes, it just gives you so many ends to weave in. So what I did was, one day when I was watching Wimbledon, I just sat and I weaved in all of my ends before I came to sewing the sides together, and I just backstitched in the end, the front and back together. I'm not very good at mattress stitch. I need to learn how to be better at it actually. So I backstitched this and I think it's gone okay. I've matched the stripes as best as I can. It definitely would have been easier, I think, if I had knit this in the round, because I maybe would have had the jog that everyone has told me about, but I wouldn't have had to match the colours and the stripes quite as closely as I've had to do with sewing this up. But yeah, overall, I am really, really pleased with this, and I definitely think I'll wear it. I think it looks really nice. It's got a bit of a sort of a 70s vintagey style to it, I think, because of the stripes and all the different colours. I just love how it looks with dark jeans, and I think it will be really good for just wearing with jeans and shorts in the summertime. And again, it's just nice to have nice knitted vests, so you can still wear some knitwear in the summer and when it is hot. Yeah, let me know what you think of this. I'd love to know, after all of the like toing and froing with it, and whether or not I was going to rip the whole thing back and knit it in the round and all the ends and everything. I'm really glad that it's actually done now and I've got it in my wardrobe. And then I will just very quickly share with you where I am with my current knitting work in progress, which is the Tolsta Tank, again by Rebecca Clow. So as you can see, I've now split for the sleeves here, and I'm just working my way through the body. So the body is just knit round and round and round until you get to a certain point, but I'm just knitting this eyelet pattern into the t-shirt as well. So every 10 rows, I'm just knitting an eyelet row, which I do every 3 stitches. And I think that's giving me a really nice sort of pattern actually. I'm glad I decided to do that rather than just knit it straight in stocking stitch. It's not too difficult to do now that I'm sort of in the rhythm of it. It was a little bit difficult to do when I was doing the increasing and the sleeves, because you then need to work out where to place your eyelets. But now that I'm just doing the body, which is just round and round, I can see quite easily where I need to put the eyelets. I'm loving doing this. I just haven't had very much time to knit lately, and I would love to get this done before the end of the summer so that I can have it to wear. And because it has got some little sleeves to it, hopefully it will sort of take me into the end of summer, maybe the beginning of autumn as well. But yeah, I'm really, really enjoying this new pattern and just sort of learning how to do the German short rows and the raglan increases and things like that, because I've not done that in the round before. So it's teaching me a few new things, this pattern, and I'm really enjoying it. So that's where I'm at with that too. So I think that brings me to the end of today's video. I really hope you've enjoyed seeing everything that I've sewn for summer this year. There has been a lot this year. This is quite an unusual amount, I would say. I do feel as though I've made lots this year, lots more this year than I maybe would normally. And I think that's just how it's worked out, and because the patterns are, you know, I'm familiar with them, I can make them quite quickly. I'd love to know what your favourite of my makes is. Please do let me know in the comments, and I'd love to know as well what you're sewing at the moment. Let me know if you're sewing in preparation for a holiday. Let me know if you're sewing for summer, or maybe you're somewhere in the world where it's actually winter at the moment or autumn and you're sewing for the colder weather. Do let me know. I'd love to chat to you there too. Don't forget you can follow me over on Instagram for more photos and day-to-day videos and behind the scenes and things like that. And I also have my Patreon community where I share more videos and behind the scenes and tutorials, and we also have a really exciting sew along coming up in September as well. So I'd love you to join us over there if you want to, and I'll leave all of that information in the description below too. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you have enjoyed this video, please do give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already for more sewing videos every Sunday at 8 AM. Otherwise, take care everyone, have a lovely day, and I will look forward to seeing you soon. Bye.